Would you be surprised if I told you the purpose of social media is in fact not followers, but something else? See, a lot of artists that I talk to on a daily basis, when they're trying to figure out what to do with their music business, a lot of times I hear the phrase, I just need to grow my followers. I need to get more followers. And there's this idea around followers that's actually counterproductive for most artists out there. In today's video, I want to show you the truth about why social media is in fact not just for followers, and that followers do not equal fans. Okay, so let's dive into the first thing that we need to understand. The first thing we need to understand is that there's a myth, okay, that's been floating around social media for artists for a long time, which is that if I get more followers, I'm going to be more successful. And here's the truth of the matter. Followers do not always equal fans. Followers are people that saw a particular type of content that you put out and want to see more of that particular type of content. Sometimes those followers are people that have built an affinity for you as an artist that actually want to hear more of your music. But a lot of times it's people that saw a particular type of content and they want to see more of that. And that's the trick. That's the balancing tightrope act that we have to walk as an independent artist, is we have to figure out, how do I create content that attracts the right people so that they're not just becoming followers because they like the content generally speaking, but they actually like us as artists? Because in this myth, it doesn't identify that there's actually two phases to growing an audience on social media, right? So the idea here is that you can focus on growth, and that's what most people are focused on. That's where most of the eyes of the prize are on, is growing their follower counts, right? Putting out a piece of content and getting more followers, putting out a piece of content and getting more followers. And they're going to assume, and they're going to think that this is going to build a business for them, that they're going to all of a sudden now have this thriving fan base. But I have found, I literally was talking to an artist, I think it was April of this year, who had 1 million TikTok followers and $0 in income. Can you imagine that? Do you know how hard it is to work up to 1 million followers on any given social media platform? And then you get to that point, you get this huge fan base, and then you actually find out, oh my gosh, I have no income from this. I didn't figure out the other side of audience building, which is conversion. And that's what most people don't talk about, because people think of social media as, I got to get this following, I got to get this following. There's truth in the phrase getting a following, but followers are not always the best metric to determine how good your following is. Hopefully that makes sense, because people think, oh, the more followers I have, the better everything is. That's not the case. I've had artists that I've worked with that have email lists that have a couple thousand people in there, and sometimes you see a huge conversion rate. I worked with one with a 2,000 email size roughly, and they were getting 25 to 34% open rates. And I worked with another client with roughly the same exact size, and they were getting 0.1% open rates, and 8% open rates was like the biggest open rate we had. What is the difference between those two? The quality of audience. That's what matters. You have people that will follow your page, not because they're that serious about you as an artist, but they just kind of like the content, they like the visuals, and they'll follow. There's a lot of people out there that remain superficial, and what happens is artists double down on getting more of those superficial likes. This is a hard pill for people to swallow, which is that you would be better off with low view counts, low follower counts, but you were reaching the right people, as opposed to you have 1 million followers, but no one will buy a thing that you got. Just telling you like it is. You would be better off with an audience of 1,000 where you have people that actually buy things from you than an audience of 100 million and no one buys anything, right? It's not about the volume. It's about the conversions, in my opinion. So yes, some people say, well, if my audience gets big enough, the conversions will follow. That's not the case, as is evidenced by the artist that I work with who had 1 million TikTok followers and no sales. And just telling you, people think, no, it's got to, it's the law of averages and it's gonna work out. It doesn't have to. If you don't focus on the conversion side of this game, you will not improve conversions. And if by some miracle situation you get some conversions, that's a miracle situation. That's an outlier. The majority of people who don't focus on conversions don't get more conversions. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys, is that there's this myth around building followers as if that's the reason you should be posting on social media. But I would care to argue that that's not the case. Because when you're posting, you're not supposed to be like posting for your followers. Think about it like this. Social media is for posting for cold traffic. Now, for some of you that don't know what that means, cold traffic means they're unaware of you, they don't know who you are. Warm traffic is people that have heard of you, potentially interested or potentially like you, and then hot traffic is people that love you, like you, know you, trust you, all that good stuff. So social media is for you to do outreach to your cold and warm audiences, okay? And where most artists make the mistake in their content is they focus a majority of their content on the hot leads, the hot potential prospects that are in their, community. And if they don't have a huge community and you're focusing on that, at the moment, that's not going to work for you social media wise unless you have a big base of those kind of people. But what we have to do is we have to reach out and find these people that have never heard about us before and get our content in front of them. We have to create messages that attract people that would be a good fit if they were listening to us, but they just don't know about us yet. So they need something to get them aware of us in their, ecosphere online, where they're messing around on social media. So the purpose is not to get them as a follower per se, but the idea is that you're getting them into your world so that you can drive action, okay? Because think about it, you're trying to get new fans into your world, but that's where most people stop. They create content to grow the audience, get the new people in, sometimes. Sometimes they don't even do that, but the people that are doing it, they get out there, they get the new people in the world, in their world, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now what do I do? Well, you just keep making more content, keep getting more people in here. Okay, I'm accumulating more and more people, like that one artist who got to 1 million. I'm accumulating more and more and more and more, but they're not focusing on the conversion side of it. So what's happening? Nothing. And that's an unfortunate position to be in. So you have to look at social media from this perspective of, I'm going to be posting for people that have never heard of me before. So I don't want you to do this thing where you start the video with, hey everybody, it's Daxton Page and I'm in the band. Nobody really knows you well enough to care to stick around to hear what you got to say afterwards. That's just the honest truth about it. So stop introducing your videos like, hey, it's blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares who you are. Notice I do not start my videos with, hey, what's going on everybody? It's Daxton Page. I've played over 800 shows in my life, made over $50,000 one-on-one sales. You don't see me starting off my videos that way because no one wants to hear me go through all of that. They want to get the value from the video, right? So I would recommend don't start your videos with, hey everybody, it's, the Black Dahlia murder here. We're here to, or whatever band, Don't do that. Start immediately with the value or whatever you're trying to do, okay? So that's the first mistake, is because that type of talking head content is good for your hot leads, the people that are in your hot traffic that want to hear more of what you have to say, that have already proven that they like you by taking action over and over and over again. But creating content when you don't have a huge following, to those people, is not going to serve you very well. Because I guarantee if you go look at your metrics right now, your analytics, you will find that a vast majority of your posts are going to new people that have never heard of you before. It'll say like non-followers versus followers, or subscribed versus not subscribed. And I guarantee you're going to have anywhere from a 70-30 ratio to a 90-10 ratio of people who are not subscribed, not following you, watching this video or watching videos, as opposed to the people who are following you or subscribed to you. So when you're creating content, you have to understand the algorithm is posting it out to new people. So if you don't think of that ahead of time and create content with the frame that I'm trying to reach new people who have never heard of me, so I can't just act like they already know me. I can't be like, hey, it's Michael from blah, blah. Can't do that. I just have to immediately hook them in, immediately get them interested in my music. And that comes from some videos like we've talked about messaging, finding the right messages for the right fans, all that kind of good stuff. We talked about that in the super fans video. But yeah, so that's the second component. So far, we've got the breaking the myth of, more followers will just equal money somehow, and we'll be able to grow and create a sustainable music business from followers. It's not going to happen, okay? You have to understand that growth, yes, is one side of it, but conversion is the other side of that coin that 99% of people ignore. And you can become one of the 1% just by focusing on it. And then the second side of this that we have to look at is social media algorithms are designed to push your content out to people who have never heard of you. So you have to create content with that in mind so that you're not creating content who it's going to be shown to people who have never heard of you and the content is sort of the context of you should already know who I am and you should already know X, Y, and Z if you're going to get this. You can't do that or else it's not going to work. And I notice a lot of artists are doing that. And so if you get out of that habit, I guarantee that's going to help you out a lot, okay? So the next thing that we need to look at is number 3. The final thing that we're going to talk about in today's video is, where do you post this kind of stuff? There's a reason I said drive action in the last post, or in the last point. So what you want to think about is, okay, I get people into my world, and then I get them to drive action. Where? To follow more? You could do that, but what I would recommend is get people into a list. That can be a text list. So they can be like, hey, text this number if you want to join our community. Or it could be an email list. Hey, click the link in the description and sign up for our email list. Both of those are fantastic. In my opinion, the email list is the best. That's just my opinion. But what I would look at is, how do I drive action to get people from this surface level social media following into my email list, text list, so now I can communicate with them one-on-one. And this is where you can start to create the content of, hey, what's going on? You know, it's Dax from Kira. We're out here doing blah, 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 blah. You have to understand that, like, there's a level of rapport that's been built because they've seen your social media post and they liked you enough to sign up for your email list. Now you can address them more in a one-on-one type fashion, where sometimes on social media, you know, there's a weird dichotomy of when you create a post, you kind of want to view it like you're posting to one person, right? But it's a different perspective because you're trying to post it to one person who's never heard of you, where versus they're in the email list, now you're doing stuff where you're posting either video content or text content that is showing them that more personal side of you in the one-on-one capacity. So addressing your fans in a one-on-one type capacity as opposed to going, hey, everybody. Who's everybody? Everybody could not be them, meaning the person who's watching and scrolling through. So don't use that kind of language. Be like, have you ever wanted to, did you ever notice how that's direct one-on-one language? Have you ever done this? As opposed to, has anybody out there ever thought of, see, now it sounds like I'm on my soapbox talking just from my head that has no relation to you. I'm just going, hey, what's the deal with airline food? You know, that's kind of what it feels like a little bit. So number 3 is the point of when you're creating content for your list, now we can be a little bit more personal. This is where we share things like our origin story, where we came from, all the trials and tribulations we went through to get to where we are now in our music business. And if you can go through that and you can build out those stories that sell, that should be the name of some kind of product that I have, stories that sell. But the idea is you have to create stories that build a bond, so that the fan isn't just like a superficial fan. They don't just hear about you and they're like, oh yeah, cool, I heard about them on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, they're cool, whatever. You can't have that. You want them to be like, oh yeah, I know this artist. Yeah, they grew up and they, learned from their grandma, taught them how to play piano, and then they started singing in church, and then they came out and started writing their own songs. And like, you understand, like there's like a whole story about you that needs to be unveiled so that when they think about you, they don't think about the superficial things they saw on social media to associate with you. Now they think about the stories. Think about this. There's 2 levels of branding. There's the superficial image kind of perspective, and then there's something that goes a little bit deeper beyond the surface, right? So on one level of branding, you have images and presentation of yourself that you're putting forward that is supposed to put an association in the person who's watching's mind. We talked about this in branding videos before. You're trying to create an association in their mind that is going to look at you and think the things about you that are actually what you're trying to present yourself as an artist, right? So you be as authentic as possible and you create the brand so that they have no other choice but to associate you with the authenticity that you provided, if that makes sense, hopefully. And so that's one area of looking at it, right? But then once they're in there, the relationship of fan and artist cannot just thrive on that alone. There has to be a little bit of a deeper layer, okay? Which is why a lot of fans go and look at interviews. They don't just want to see the brand and image. They want to see the people talk, and they want to hear their real thoughts on things they've gone through in their life and answer questions and all that kind of good stuff. So that level of branding, you're now creating content that builds that association even deeper. so that when they think about you, they're not just thinking about you in terms of the superficial images and associations and slogans or whatever. They're thinking about you in the story aspect. Because now when someone comes up to me and they go, who's your favorite artist? And tell me something about your favorite artist. My favorite artists, I've gone into that deeper level of analysis with them because I'm a fan of them. And every fan will do that for you. It's just providing that for them so that they have something to go with. A lot of independent artists don't have Wikipedia pages and numerous interviews on YouTube that fans can go stream through and get that inside view. So what you can do is provide that content within your email list so that people understand who you are at that deeper level. And now when they think about you, they're not thinking about you in the social media aspect. They're thinking about you and like, oh yeah, there's Michael and he grew up in South Side of blah, 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 and he went through this and this and came to like all that stuff pops into the brain. That's the purpose of your list and warm content, okay? But a lot of people get this mixed up where they start posting warm content over on social media and it doesn't do very well because the people who are consuming the warm content are by nature warm, right? Where social media's algorithms is naturally putting your content in front of people who are cold. So trying to attract people into your world that have never heard of you before. So there's a different perspective of content creation, hopefully now that you can look at whenever you're looking at social media. You're not viewing social media as the goal to get more followers because your followers are somehow going to translate into sales and that's going to build a business. That's not the correct way of looking at this. We understand hopefully now by the end of this video that the reason social media exists is a marketing platform to attract the right people into your lists that you own. Because put it this way, you do not own your followers at all. I know, I worked really hard to get my followers. Mr. Beast works really hard to get his followers. You tell me he doesn't own his followers? That is correct. YouTube could tomorrow shut his platform down for any number of reasons, and they would have every right to do so, and those followers go with him. If you or my accounts are shut down tomorrow, the followers go with them. The only thing that's left are the lists that we control, okay? The lists that are in our CRMs and our email lists and our text lists. Those are the only lists that we have access to. So by creating an email list, you're creating this kind of unique place that people can access content that's more personal from you. So they build that deeper relationship. And when you finally ask, hey, can you help me support? I'm trying to, I'm trying to record a new album. And so I've got these shirts made for you to help me fund creating this new record. People are like, sure, I want to help support you do that. And so now they're more willing to do that because they know who you are. They know the struggles you've went through. They know how you came out on top and they want to support you on this underdog journey to you succeeding in the music business. So hopefully you understand that like you build out these stories to create that deeper bond, okay? You build those stories out so that you create that association that is deeper than just, oh, I saw this funny video or this cool video on social media, right? So you view social media as a way to attract those people who are going to be the ideal, we're going to call them the dream fans that you would like to have in your music business, and so that you can get them into your email list, not to keep them superficially at the follower level, because if you think of everything like a big funnel, right? Social media followers are at the tippy top, okay? So we need to drive them further and further down the funnel, and that's where we start creating content that we're a little bit more vulnerable with, more so than at the top of the funnel, and then we eventually make an offer, and the people at the bottom, that's the people who buy. And so you're driving people down this funnel and you're finding the people who are actually going to buy from you, and you're getting conversions and you're building out a music business. I've went through this process in great length over many videos, so go check those out if you haven't. I hope you got a lot of value from today's video. If you did, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, the like button, all that kind of good stuff. Leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts about how you've been approaching social media and what you think of this whole concept. Also, if you'd like some help creating that content that's going to attract your dream fans and build out the email systems that are going to monetize, then click the link that's in the description. We have a coaching call application that you can apply for if you're interested. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.